Hi, I'm Willie. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. And what we're going to talk about in this video is a brand new Grandstream Layer 2 Lite switch that is multi-gig, 2.5 gig, plus two 10 SFP plus ports. And Grandstream just keeps kind of rounding out their switch offerings, and I'm here for it. So I've got this switch. This is the GWN7721P, and I happen to have this switch right here. Thank you, Grandstream, for sending this out. Quick recap before we open the box. So this has 8 PoE ports. It's PoE plus, 2.5 gig ports, and 2 SFP plus ports. Does light layer 2, so we'll hook it up, we'll look at the interface. But street price on this, you can grab this for about 130 USD. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus off of me and onto the switch here. There it goes. So you can see we've got our 8 2.5 gig PoE plus ports, and then down there on the end we've got the SFP plus cages. You've got a reset button there, and I guess I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. You've got a grounding lug back there. There's a thing I'll show you here that they send to make sure that the power cable stays plugged in, and then you've got your power there. It is rack mountable. I'll show you that. So what else do we have in the box? Of course, we always get the written documentation with Grandstream. Not only the quick start guide, but we also get a regulatory information sheet. And then in the box, we get an accessory box. I've got so much cardboard I need to break down. I'm glad this is all cardboard these days. Then, you know, one thing I didn't see, and I must have put it somewhere else, is I didn't see the little sheet with the default password, but that's all right. I'll take a picture. So here's that this gizmo thingamajig, whatever you want to call it, that goes into the back of the switch and then clamps around the power cord, and then this slides into the switch to make sure that the power cord stays plugged in. So I think that's fantastic, actually. That's probably a 2-cent solution to a problem that has caused many, many hours of heartache and dollars for companies. So kudos to Grandstream on that. Of course, we get a power cable. Get feet if you're not going to rack mount it. There are rack mount screws in this bag. And then you get the grounding, the feet, the screws. And then you get the rack ears. So we're going to take a look at the data sheet, and then I'm going to rack this thing up, and we're going to log into it and see what is going on. So let me get that data sheet pulled up. So here it is, Layer 2 Lite managed 2.5 gig switches. So you get 8 ports of 10.5 gigabit. I'm sorry, you get 8 ports of 2.5 gigabit. They also have this in a non-PoE version that's quite a bit smaller, but to get that PoE power supply inside this chassis is a little larger. So if you don't need PoE, you could go with just the 7221. Does provide smart power, PoE, PoE plus. Of course, we have loop detection, SNMP monitoring, spanning tree, can be managed in a plethora of ways, DHCP snooping, QoS. Let's see if there's anything else in the data sheets that we need to talk about. So even if you go with the non-PoE, the smaller version, you do get 2 SFP plus ports. So that is the same on both models. Once again, this switch coming in at a street price of about 130 USD plus shipping. Big differences here. Obviously, PoE versus non-PoE, we get 30 watts per port. Oh, let's see, jumbo frames. We've got supports up to 32 VLANs out of 4,000 VLAN IDs. MAC address table can hold 16,000 addresses. We get that QoS. I'm just trying to see if there's anything that... Okay, so if you don't do the PoE version, it comes with the feet, or you can mount it on the wall. So obviously on the back, it's got the notch outs for that. And then for this one, you can do desktop, wall mount, or rack mount. That's the 7721P. Got all of our LED indicators. And of course, we're going to talk about VLANs down here and how you can use them. So it does look like it has a PoE watchdog built in. So if it can't ping a device that's plugged into a port, we're going to be able to automatically power cycle the port, which is fantastic. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to get this rack mounted. We're going to get it fired up and we're going to get logged in. I will be right back. Okay, so we're back and this is our first login. I've got this nested behind a different router for the moment. So we're just going to get in. We're going to poke around. I haven't logged into this yet. You are seeing this at the same time as me. And now I got to see if I can read this password. And I did it right. All right, so now we're going to go ahead. It's prompting us to change the password. That is fantastic. And we'll complete this step. We successfully set the new password. So by default, it's called GWN7721P. Got our IP, our subnet mask, part number, serial number, all that good stuff. Looks like we got 130 watts remaining on the power supply. So we're going to check and see if there's a new version detected before we get into this. Make sure it's on the latest firmware. So it is update detecting. Please do not power off switch. So we'll see what happens here. Detect new firmware version failed. Please try again. All right, hold please. One thing I noticed is there was no path in here. So I put that in. Let's see what happens now. I put firmware.grandstream.com in. Detect new. No firmware is found. So we're just going to make sure that that's right. So this is the 7721P. So we're going to go down to switches. 7721P. There is a beta, but 1.0.1.33 is the latest. Is that the one we're on? 1.0.1.33. So we're on the latest general release. There is a beta for this. We can look at the release notes and see. Oh, looks like there's been all kinds of enhancements. Okay, so since this is beta, I could put the beta path in this update. Or I could... You know what? Let's let me see here. So if I put this in, we'll paste that in. We'll save it. We'll hit check for updates. Let's see what happens now. But yeah, there's a lot of fixes I saw there. So to give this switch the best shot out of the box here, we will go to this beta firmware. So I don't know if it's going to fail again or what. I've got a lot of things really clamped down on this network. So we'll see what happens here. Might just have to manually download it and manually update it. see what happens. Anybody else, while we're waiting for this, anybody else have this switch yet? Let me know down in the comments. It looks like it's got it here. We're going to go ahead and upgrade now. So it is now uploading the firmware. Be a really bad time to lose power. I do not have a UPS on that rack back there because it's all lab gear. It's always changing. And you know what? Occasionally, I want to see what happens when you turn the power out on stuff, right? That's one of the things that we do. We will leave things booted up, shut them off, see what happens. Ooh, it looks like this thing rebooted really quickly. So we'll see here if we can get logged in. I did not cut the camera away or pause the video. All right, so we are on the beta now. All right, so let's take a look around. If you're familiar with Grandstream switches, this interface should look the same to you. So we've got AF, AT power. We can do jumbo frames, all that good stuff. We can look at all the different ports here. Let's see what's happening with our ports. IP settings, of course, we can do. We can change the management VLAN. Also, you can do a lot of this stuff if you're managing this with a GCC device, a GWN router, whether you're using GWN Manager or whether you're using the free cloud management platform, GDMS.cloud. You can set a lot of these options to really get into the weeds on some configuration. You need to log into the switch, but that's a beautiful thing about how Grandstream handles the management of their devices. It doesn't have to talk to a controller, but it can. So if there's things that are not exposed in the single pane of glass, you can log in, you can SSH in, you can set these. If the switch provisions, it doesn't overwrite it. It's beautiful. All right, so we can do static or DHCP here. Here's our management platform. And you can see, is it GDMS? Is it a layer 2? Is it a layer 3? So we can choose between those there. Here under switching, you can see we are all set for 2.5 gig. Of course, the only thing that's plugged in is my uplink to the network, and we are connected at a gig. We can do lags. We can search our MAC address table. Here's our spanning tree setup, and we've got STP or RSTP, no MSTP here. We can set our bridge priority. We've got all of our port settings there. Pretty nice. VLAN, port VLAN. So this is where we can come in and set different VLANs on different ports. 802.Q VLAN is where we can actually add our VLANs, set up our trunks, and things like that. Here's our port VLAN ID settings. IGMP snooping if you are running multicast. Here's our QoS. So up here you can see we can do port based, 802.1P based, or DSCP based. We can come in and set the port priority. Here's priority mapping for 802.1P or DSCP mapping. Here's our queue scheduling. And here we can just do some really nice rate limiting per port. So I can come into each port and I can actually rate limit each port all the way down to 512 kbps. There's a throwback. Here's our DHCP snooping setup. So if we're doing DHCP snooping, we can make sure that only the DHCP server that we specify can hand out IP addresses on the network. Here is the power supply info here under PoE. Power supply settings. So it looks like we can come in here and we can edit each of these, and we can if this had supported other standards besides AF/AT, we can probably change that there, which is nice. Here's your PoE watchdog where you can set that up. Here's our monitoring. We got some port statistics. We can do port mirroring. We can do cable testing. Loopback detection here. And then under maintenance, we've got our upgrade option. We've got backup and restore factory reset. We can do pings right from in here. Let's see if we can ping the gateway of last resort in the network here. So we'll start that. Let it run for a second, see what our results are. It should be able to ping it. Yep. For sent, for received, 1 millisecond. Here's our SNMP setup. So it is SNMP version 2 here. Notification, management. Here's the trap events that we can send. And then it looks like it supports LLDP. So if we check out our neighbor info, you can see that the uplink on this is my Lab SE. So layer 2 lite does not do any, this one doesn't do any routing, doesn't look like. But I also haven't added, we'd have to poke around a little bit to see. Yeah, no routing in this. So you need, if you need a really inexpensive 2.5 gig port with 2.5 gig switch with PoE for 130 bucks, you can have this 7721P. And if you've got Grandstream, it's going to, obviously it's going to assimilate right in. But Grandstream also uses standards like 802.1Q, 802.1P, right? They have STP, RSTP, right? So they're using standards, which is absolutely awesome. So you can use this switch in your network no matter who your other manufacturers are, as long as they're talking on the same standard. So if you've got any questions about this switch, let me know down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, share, follow me on Twitter and TikTok. Those links are down below, along with affiliate links, a Patreon link. And if you need IT consulting, head on over to willyhow.com. Fill out the contact form that's on the front page there, whether it's networking, voice over IP, storage, security, all those things. If we can't help you, we'll get you to someone who can. That's our promise to you. And come on over to community.willyhow.com and talk about this switch and all your favorite switches. We geek out over there on a lot of stuff. Well, once again, I'm Willy. I want to thank you for being here. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.